Welcome to Escaping Purgatory, a podcast where we rewatch Supernatural, then talk it through in the hopes that we can finally escape this show.
Join us each week and leave comments on upcoming episodes, and together we can escape Supernatural Purgatory.
Oh, hello.
Hello there.
Yeah.
So we might have lied a little bit because we said that there were hardly any filler, or there were no fillers in this season. This episode absolutely was a filler episode.
It was just like one long ha ha ha, Jared is in House of Wax. That was basically the episode.
Yeah, it really was. Which I'm not mad about. Like, it was fun. It was fun. And I don't think I watched this episode back in the day. I think season 5 is where like I was trying to catch up for some reason.
Yeah.
And so I think you'd give me a list of episodes that, you know, you kind of didn't really need to watch. And I think this one was one of them. Like if you didn't need to. So I was like, all right, well, guess I won't. Because I don't remember this episode whatsoever. I mean, it's not really memorable anyway. It's really for the conversations that they have between each other. And even those are repeats of like previous seasons conversations.
Yeah, I think I've only ever watched this episode the one time that I did my like original watch, and that's it. And yeah, it's alright.
I will say I was pleasantly surprised by Paris Hilton. Like, she can't sing for nothing. Like, obviously her albums and stuff were heavily produced and mixed and everything. She gave a good effort. It was just weird, the subject matter that she was talking about. Yeah,
I think she did a good job. I don't mind. Like, yeah, sure. Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, yeah. You just, I think of like Space Jam and like when you had all those basketball players coming in to act. Some of them were okay and they were like funny moments, but I think if I went back to watch it now, I'd probably cringe halfway through, or like all the way through that movie, just like because it would be so. And I'm not talking about the new one. I haven't seen the new one.
No, I haven't.
But I'm talking the Michael Jordan one. And I was like,
it happens as well. There's like on It's Always Sunny. I think there's like some hockey players or something that also come on. You can just tell they're not actors. They're like trying hard, but they're not actors. But yeah, I think Paris Hilton did a decent job, and I think someone asked. I think I mentioned this before. Someone asked Jensen what it's like to work with her, and I said about her turning on her persona, but I think he also said that he was surprised at like, yeah, she came on like, yeah, I'm ready to do the job. Let's go. So,
yeah,
can't fault her there.
I almost want to go and watch House of Wax now just to see like, if she can continue that for a feature-length movie, or if it's just like, a 10-minute.
House of Wax is actually a solid horror movie. Like, it's all right. I don't mind it. I think I watched it twice. I don't know why I've watched it twice. But it's actually like a solidly decent horror movie. Like, if you want to watch it, do. It yucks me out.
Well, yeah. I'm guessing some of the like shots that were in this episode are probably recreations of the movie. Like the way, I'm getting way ahead, but whatever. The way that Sam like is so close to, I think it's Gandhi.
No, it's Abraham Lincoln, and it's so dumb. Yeah, maybe. Oh yeah, that might be actually. I'm like trying to cast my mind back to when I watched House of Wax in my 20s. Maybe that is a like exact. I mean, the character that Sam plays dies a horrible death in that movie. Spoilers.
It's fine. I think if the movie's over 10 years old, the spoiler warnings kind of can get thrown out the window.
Yeah. Is there anyone that's passed that movie? I can't remember. I feel like, and this is me casting, this is me getting maybe decades old knowledge. I feel like the axe is a reference, but I can't quite remember why.
Okay.
I feel like the axe is a reference. Yeah.
It'll be good to go back and just have a look at like the movie and compare it to see if it really is just like a Basically like a 40-minute recap of the movie.
It's definitely
with a bit of supernatural sprinkled in.
Yeah, it's definitely like different subject matter. Anyway, basically, I don't want to go watch House of Wax again because no. But yeah, maybe some of our listeners can be. What comparisons can you make between this episode and House of Wax? And also, like, I can't believe they spent time literally just making the point of like, haha, Jared, you were in a movie. We just watched a 40-minute like haha episode, you know?
Yeah, it really was. They don't do that to Jensen, right? I don't feel. Well, they may do with Bloody Valentine because they both went on to do like separate horror movies, holiday movies. What we're talking about.
There is an episode called My Bloody Valentine. But I don't know if they actually like. I mean, we'll have to get there, and I don't know. Do they ever? Anyway, I can't remember. I'm just like, yeah, I don't know.
All right, I suppose we can get into this.
Yeah, let's do
this
it.
40-minute joke at Jared's expense.
No, I was going to say, I wonder if that's how they managed to get Paris Hilton, because obviously he had worked with her on House of Wax. So maybe they got on and were like, yeah, do you want to come do Supernatural? And she's like, yeah, right.
That's probably exactly how it went. They're like, we have this filler episode that we need to do, and do you want to come onto it? And they're like, sure. Yeah. I realised we haven't actually said what the episode is. So this is season 5, episode 5, Fallen Idols, and it's written by Julie Siege, which I'm surprised at. And it was directed by James L. Conway.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure we've watched one of his episodes before, but don't ask me which one it was. We're getting into some direct, like, you know, since Kim Manners had passed by this point, we're getting like the staples, I feel like, kind of have left, and they're bringing on different people to come in.
Especially for these filler episodes, you know.
Yeah.
Just let other people have a go.
Definitely. So at the recap, I don't know why you thought it was long. I thought it was super, super short. It was basically a lot of episode 2 from this season. Basically said like it showed Lucifer's cage opening, Sam choosing Ruby over Dean, the bloody knife, and then the vessel stuff. That's pretty much it.
You know, the vessel stuff. Yeah.
Like, you know, Lucifer's vessel and Michael's vessel, that's it. Basically. And then at the end of last week's episode, Sam saying, I won't let you down, and Dean says, I know it. And then we're in some guy's house, and there's 2 men who go through a garage. The thing that before the death of this opening scene, I was like, this garage is massive. Right. Like the car is parked diagonally in this. It's like a house size garage.
Yeah,
absolutely massive. So they're talking about, you know, that they found something, and Cal leads him to a covered car, and he pulls it back, and it's a Porsche with the label "Little Bastard" on it.
While I was watching this, the whole time I was thinking, me and you both have to say "little bastard" in our English accent. This episode.
And also, is it Porsche or Porsche?
Porsche. But I'm going to say it in my West Country accent, which has a really hard R, and say it like Porsche.
Porsche. A little bastard. They're going through, like, is it authentic? And Cal's like, well, the VIN numbers match. And he paid a lot of money. Jim asks, have you started her up yet? And Cal said, I want to call him Carl. I was like, there's no R, it's Cal. I've been waiting for you. Carl goes to start the car, but he's like, hang on, I got to record this for posterity's sake. And he goes back to like the main house and gets a camcorder and starts to walk out, and he hears like a rev of an engine. Yeah. He goes back to the car and he's like calling him out, like, what's going on? And then we get like 5 still shots of Cal's like split in half head.
It's the worst. I hated it so much. I had forgotten about this. I think we talked about like the worst deaths in Supernatural. I think this is up there. It's horrible.
Yeah, I mean, at least it's instant, I guess.
I mean, the visual effects department outdid themselves. They were clearly having fun with this one. And no, I don't like it. No.
I wasn't that bothered by it, to be honest. I was just like, why is there so many shots of it? I guess can you imagine the HBO version of this though?
Oh no. Oh, I can as well. Ooh, it'd be horrible. It'd be horrible.
It would be disgusting. One thing that really got me though with this is, so the little bastard is printed on the back.
Yeah.
And then so the next shot after, the close-ups of this guy's brain or head is like blood dripping down.
Yeah.
But it's at the back of the car.
You're so right. I felt there was something off with that as well, and I couldn't quite pinpoint why. Yeah, you're completely right. That's real dumb.
Yeah, because on the front of the car, I think it's got the number 360.
Yeah,
on the back is little bastard, and it's just like, It's a really cool shot. Really like it, but it's the wrong side of the car.
And when they get back to it later on, there is like blood stains on the back of the car, right? Because
no, it's the front of the car.
Rusty bits. Is that? Oh.
Yeah. So they really messed up because it's the front of the car, and it's still got the number on it.
Okay, that's stupid. Fine. I mean, I understand why they did it, but it does look cool. I will say this episode had a good many shots of the Impala that we've kind of been missing. I think you mentioned it last episode, and whoever directed this was like, I would need to practice my getting the car seat. I don't know what I'm trying to say. Looking at the car in different angles, because there's some really nice ones here. This is one of them. So the Impala drives along, and Sam and Dean are in the car. This conversation was so good because basically Sam is like, what are we doing? Why are we doing a filler episode? And Dean's essentially like, because I said so. So they go through the case, talking about like the guy had a head-on collision in a parked car, and Sam's like, we've got bigger problems, we've got to find the cult, etc. Dean confirms they've been together for 3 weeks. It's been 3 weeks since the last episode.
I think we ought to ease into it. Put the training wheels back on.
And Sam kind of takes it as a bit of a slight and says, I need training wheels. And Dean's like, no, we do, like as a team, because they haven't been together and who knows how long, because they never told us how long it was. They weren't together, but their relationship needs to be like reforged. But yeah, I do love that kind of nod to the audience of like, look, we know there's an apocalypse, but we had to fill this season, okay? I mean, it is important as well, because Dean saying like, this is what we're doing, end of discussion, does play into a conversation that they have later on as well. So, okay, fine. They did it in a clever way.
This episode is just basically a vehicle for them to have discussions.
It really is, yeah. It just moves their relationship along. That's the only reason for this episode, really. And even then, like, they could have done it in a different one, is padding. Also, interestingly, they put that, like, Paris Hilton was a special guest star at the beginning. And, like, I must have watched this at the time and thought, like, what? Because I always read the, like, who's going to be in it. I thought it was really funny. Like, I thought they maybe would have left it to the end, because sometimes they do that as, like, a surprise. They'll put, like, the things and then say, and this person, like, haha.
Like, once they've appeared on screen, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm surprised they didn't do that, to be honest. So they're going to a place called Canton in Ohio, and they are dressed as FBI agents going to see the sheriff about the car murder. They call themselves Agents Bonham and Copeland. And this sheriff... I think everyone thinks if they were a detective, they'd all be really good. But I feel like a lot of people would just be like this.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you. Like, he it kind of goes against every TV cop that there has ever been. I feel like this is really how policing is done. It's like, well, it's the obvious guy, like whatever.
Yeah.
Like we're not gonna go any further than that. Whereas like on TV, they're like, I'm gonna break all the rules and I'm gonna find the real killer. I'm here for the truth. And in reality, they're just like, yeah, it's probably the most obvious guy.
Yeah. He was closest to the murder scene. Must be him.
Exactly.
So he said that they arrested Jim, and because he filmed the whole thing, so they're like, he filmed the murder, even though he sounds really confused on the videotape. What I realised is by the end of this episode, like, Jim's still getting booked. Like, they didn't uncover anything that's gonna like exonerate him.
That's very true.
Yep. So poor Jim.
Poor Jim.
Yep. I mean, he probably did get off on lack of evidence. Let's hope that for Jim, because there really was no evidence that he managed to do it, or any way that he could have killed him in that manner. There's literally no explanation. So
yeah, hopefully the prosecutor's office is just like, there's no evidence here, we can't charge him. So
yeah, because Sam and Dean do ask this. They're like, how did Jim slam Cal into a windscreen with the force of an 80-mile-per-hour crash? And the sheriff just says, like, drugs, maybe? Like, come on, man. And then he says, this ain't brain surgery, boys, which I feel is like a bad choice of words considering how Cal died.
I didn't clock that, but yeah.
So Sam and Dean go to talk to Jim in his holding cell, and they ask him what happened. And, they do their whole, like, come on, you can tell us. We're not your typical cops. And Jim says it was the car that did it. Because he had heard from when he was going to get the camera, he had heard like squealing of tires and stuff, which is impossible. The car was still in the garage.
I mean, I heard about the curse, but I just thought it was a little crap.
Curse? What do you mean curse?
The car. Little bastard.
Dean knows what this car is because it's James Dean's car.
Of course he knows.
Of course he knows. Of course. And he's like super excited about it. So because, Cal had been looking for it for years and they both had, but he found it first.
Oh, we are definitely checking this out.
Oh, a little enthusiastic Dean.
Yeah. So they go to the garage where this car is, and Dean is like shook.
Yeah, that's the best way to put it.
So he's not touching the car though, which is very un-Dean-like behaviour. I don't understand the reference. So I say here, I don't know much about James Dean, right?
I don't
so
either.
Sam says here, like, so what is this like Christine? And Dean shakes his head and says, no, Christine is fiction. This is real. I don't understand that reference.
Yeah, that one's lost on me as well. I don't know.
So Dean explains that after James Dean died, his mechanic got the car and fixed it up, but the car fell on him. And then everyone who's had it after, so there was Tony McHenry was killed on the racetrack he was driving it on. So basically his car has like killed a bunch of people. And then in 1970, it vanished off the back of a truck and no one's ever seen it since. Just like Dean's jacket. He's saying that the car has probably killed the guy.
I was gonna say, like, you bring up the jacket and it makes an appearance in this episode, and I just hate when it makes an appearance.
Oh, it does as well. Damn it. Haven't actually said for a while, like, if you know the whereabouts of Dean's jacket, please contact us to find it. So, Dean's like, maybe this is the car, maybe this is little bastard who's killed everybody. Although Cal matched the VIN number, the only real way to tell is the engine number, which is underneath the car. It cuts, and then we have them standing by the car with their jackets off and their sleeves rolled up, like ready to do something. But they're kind of like standing hands on hips, like, who's going to touch it first?
You want me to do it? No. No, I've got it.
He gets down on a rollerboard and like puts a pencil in his mouth to roll under, which is an image I've seen gifted so many times. I don't know why. No, I do know why. So he rolls under and like as he's down there, the car is like shifting and shaking. So, and like just when you think it's about to fall, like Sam's head appears. Like, you're right.
Okay. Don't speak, all right? In fact, don't even look at her. She might not like it.
So Dean manages, right, this was stupid too.
Yeah.
Because this whole thing has been about them not touching the car in case it's cursed. So he is looking up at the number on the engine, like, I can read that number. And he's like, no, I'm going to take an etching of it. And like rubs his pencil over. Why? Just write it down, man.
Or say it out loud. Like, literally just tell Sam exactly what it is. That's what I thought the entire time. Like, this whole bit was literally just, I guess, Dean scared.
Yeah.
And to have this whole, like... I mean, it was great. I loved it. But it was really dumb.
So dumb. Like, it was so legible. Like, if it had not been legible at all, like, I get it. But it was so legible, he could have just written it down.
And, like, surely the etching... Like, they don't even show the etching. Probably because it was so bad. And it's, like, maybe it was just... Maybe it was too dark, but the way that it was filmed, like, you had to see Dean's face.
Yeah.
So they made everything brighter. So it, like, I don't know. It was really stupid. And also I feel like the logic of all of this is kind of dumb too. Of like, it has to be the VIN number and the engine number. Well, you just said the mechanic rebuilt the car. Like, what?
I thought this too. Like, the chassis could still be the right car, and they could have replaced the engine, right?
That's what I would imagine. Yeah.
Yeah. So the VIN number's on the chassis, right? Not that. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
So it was the car. So it was. Anyway.
Yeah. I don't know.
Anyway, so Dean gives Sam the piece of paper and says, now you got to find out who owned it all the way back to 1955.
That's a lot of research. Well, I guess I just made your afternoon.
Just like walks off. So it's kind of later on in the day because it's a bit darker, and we see Dean sitting at, it's in a pub. It's a pub. It's not really a bar.
Yeah, it definitely is an Irish pub, probably.
Yeah, it's called the Green Dragon. So it's kind of like... What? Yeah, anyway. And he's flirting with the bartender, pretending that he's an agent because she wants to be an actress. It's kind of dumb.
Did you see his injured finger?
No!
So I don't know when. I guess he is one of those ones where like you've maybe trapped your finger in something and you got like the dark black mark under the nail. Mm-hmm. He has that for like the rest of the episode now.
Oh, what we did?
Probably something to do with the car.
Probably, yeah.
I feel like that's usually like you get like your finger slammed in the door or something like that.
Yeah. Oh, ow. I can imagine. I've done that a few times. I'm like, ow, thinking about it now. Ugh, I hate hurting my fingers. Really hurt. This episode, I feel like I'm going to be saying this a lot. I don't understand what the point of this bit was.
Yeah, neither do I.
Was it maybe showing that he was wanting to spend time away from Sam? You know, because normally they'd research together, possibly. Or is it just him being a dick, going to a bar while Sam's stuck doing research? Because that kind of plays into the conversation later, sort of.
Yeah, I guess it could be. I think your first assertion though is right. Like he just wants to get away from Sam.
Anyway, he gets a phone call while he's there. Still that Motorola Razr. Loving this for Dean.
Yes.
The reason I love him having this phone so much is because I had the same phone when I was like 15, and so did all of my like girlfriends, but no guy I know owned this phone. Anyway, so Dean gets a phone call. This is where that was going. And it's Sam, and he has found all the old owners and has found nothing. Like, none of them died. Sam hears that Dean's in a bar because someone's playing pool near him and asks him, and he's like, no, I'm in a restaurant. And then the bartender's like, here's your beer. It's like...
That happens to have a bar.
I've been working my ass off here.
Hey, world's smallest violin, pal.
Which is again a very like early 2000s. Like, I've seen it lately on TikTok and things, people doing the world's smallest violin again, and it's very much an old reference. He says, I spent the afternoon up Christine's skirt, meaning the car. So maybe James Dean's car was originally called Christine. I don't... Someone tell us. I could Google it, but I'm not going to.
I completely skipped over all of these Christine references. I was like, whatever.
So it turns out that the car's first owner was a cardiologist in Philadelphia, and he drove it until he died in 1972. And so it turns out the Porsche is not, or has never been James Dean's car. At least the engine hasn't, again.
Right.
So it's fake. So like, what killed that guy then? So we cut to a house. You know, the next murder has to happen now to move the story along.
Right.
And there's a man sitting at his desk doing some work. His, like, housekeeper comes in and, you know, she's leaving. And he says, like, hey, have a good night. And then his breath starts fogging up as there, you know, there's a ghost about. That's never explained. So,
What do you mean?
why are there ghosts? Why are there ghost signs?
Huh.
Okay.
Misleading.
Come back to
All
that.
right.
Yeah, it's misleading. So okay, spoiler, this isn't a ghost, so why are there ghost signs? So he turns around because he hears like a creak behind him, and he's like, it's you! You're supposed to be dead! And then Abraham Lincoln shoots him. I knew Abraham Lincoln was in this episode. I was right.
For a very short amount of time.
Yeah.
It was weird. The people that they chose to have in this episode, no clue why they chose those people.
No
clue. But there you go. And like, it's never really clear on who that guy was. I kind of guessed he was like a lawyer, but I guess he's just like a history professor or something.
I think they say he's like some history buff. I don't know.
Weird.
Just some guy.
No. So it's later on in the next day, or it's just in the daytime, and forensics are going through the scene, and Sam and Dean show up, and the police chief is there, or sheriff, I don't know which one he is. Let's call him police chief because I'm from England. And he's kind of reluctant to realize how strange this crime is. Sam points out that there was no gun, no gunpowder, no bullet. It's just like the sheriff's sort of conclusion of it being like a professional. It's not wrong because they kind of would. Maybe the no bullet thing is a little weird, I will say that. Mm-hmm. But like no gun, no gunpowder, well, yeah, like a high power rifle would just from far away.
Yeah, why not?
Bada bing, bada boom.
This guy's trying, you know?
Yeah,
he's trying.
Exactly.
Come again?
Well, CIA, NSA, one of them trained assassins, like in Michael Clayton.
And Sam's like, well, can we talk to the witness? And he's like, well, she's not making a lot of sense. And she's not making a lot of sense in Spanish either. Again, I don't know why. Like, I feel like this is the first time that like they've really interacted with a non-English speaking person.
Yes. Yeah.
That I can remember. And I was just like, why in this episode?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know.
Right?
All this is just done for, like, they just wanted to, I think what's happened here is we've had a few real heavy episodes, brothers fighting. They just wanted to make Dean look stupid in this episode by him not knowing any Spanish. Like, that's...
Yeah, I guess so. And, like, poking fun at Jared and making fun of Dean. Yeah. All right. I'm not even going to attempt to say anything that the housekeeper had said because me and Spanish, we don't go together.
I didn't do Spanish in school.
No,
I did German.
neither did I.
Yeah.
German and French. So, and even both of those are pretty shoddy, to be honest.
Yes, I am bad. Look, we're English, therefore we're bad at languages.
We expect everyone else to know
Yeah.
English. So basically, she explained in Spanish that it was a guy with a beard. He was tall and had a very big hat. Who had killed Mr. Hill, and it was Dean's like. Dude was wearing a sombrero, and Sam was like, no, a hat, not like a hat. He makes gestures.
What I liked about this is you could tell that she was like simplifying her Spanish for these like two idiots.
Yes, absolutely, she was doing that. And Dean's like, oh, so you mean like Abe Lincoln? I love the fact that like a tall hat and a beard is like, oh, yeah, it's this historical figure.
Not Isambard Kingdom Brunel. That's who my mind goes to as a British citizen. He also had a beard and a hat, so...
Yeah, yeah. It makes more sense in this context because of who the guy is, but yes. And she's like, yeah, it was Abraham Lincoln who killed Mr. Hill. And then she's like, can I go home now? They say, yeah, she leaves.
Yeah.
So yeah, that whole scene was basically to have them poorly speak Spanish and just look really dumb.
Yeah, essentially.
It's great. And then we get like a research scene. They're both on their laptops, like facing each other. Like, I could not research or I could not be on a computer and be in this setup. My brain would just be like looking at the other person. They're too close.
Yeah.
Like, no. There has to be some sort of barrier so I can't like see the other person working. And as Dean is looking through the footage from Jim, he sees a flash of somebody in like a red race suit.
Yeah.
And he shows Sam, and it looks like James Dean, supposedly.
That's what I thought as well. I was like, how are you getting James Dean from that? Like,
he was blonde in a red jacket, sure. Like,
sure, yeah. It's a stretch.
It's a real stretch.
Sam says here, oh, there's a ton of lore on famous ghosts. I'm actually surprised we haven't run into one before. But you did, though. Is H.H. Holmes not a famous ghost?
That's true.
Yeah, I thought as soon as he said it, I was like, you made a big deal out of it. And we're like, yeah.
Yeah, you're right. I guess... Oh, yeah, because he says we haven't run into one before. Yeah, no, they have. Interesting. So this ghost is apparently killing their fans because Professor Hill was a Civil War nut. He dug Lincoln. Good for him, I suppose. Cal was a James Dean fan. You know, he spent 17 years looking for this car. And they're just sort of like, I don't know, this conversation feels like it kind of goes nowhere, just a bit in a circle.
I know.
Just like, so we got two famous ghosts super pissed off, killing their super fans.
That is muchos loco.
Muy. Not muchos.
And, you know, it doesn't really make sense that they would be in this town because they should be haunting the place that they died, basically, or lived.
Yeah, because I was like, Abraham Lincoln didn't die at the White House.
No, he didn't. No. He died in a theater.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. I didn't get how he got to the connection of the wax museum.
No, I don't know either.
Because like the way that it's set up is just like they do this from time to time where like Sam has found something and it's revealed in the next scene what it was. But even this doesn't really make sense. Oh, whatever. They're in a wax museum. And Dean's looking at Gandhi while Sam is looking at other figures. There's like a bunch of presidents: John F. Kennedy, Richard Nixon, and Abraham Lincoln. I don't know why I'm calling him Abe, like I know him, but whatever. I don't know why Dean is so dismissive of Gandhi.
I don't know.
Like, why does he have such like a hard on to like be so mean? It's so weird. Like, it doesn't make any sense. Because he's just like, he was short, and Sam's like, well, Gandhi was a great man. And he's like, yeah, for a Smurf. Like, what?
It's just rude. It's just rude, Dean.
I guess maybe he didn't know like the significance of Gandhi in Indian history.
Possibly.
The museum owner turns up. I honestly thought the museum owner was going to end up being like the creature in this episode.
Same.
But I mean, he could very well still be.
Yeah, that's true, actually.
Because it's not really cleared up as to what happened. Anyway, the owner's like, oh, it's, you've come at our busiest time of year. There's like nobody there. And he's like, this is busy. And he says, well, not right now. It's still early. And he says it's 4:30. So obviously, like, most places closes at 5.
It's pretty, yeah, I quite like that.
Yeah. So they're posing as journalists, and they're trying to write an article that shows that wax museums aren't so bad.
Well, we're interested in a few of your exhibits, specifically Abraham Lincoln and James Dean.
2 of our most popular displays.
Oh, yeah? So they bring in a lot of visitors?
Yeah, we have our regulars.
I don't suppose that William Hill and Cal Hopkins were regulars.
Okay, the question. Even if you're like a fan of someone, would you regularly hang out at the wax museum looking at what wax figurines of the people? Would you?
No.
No?
I've never been to a wax museum, so.
I have. And I have a problem with them because they pass for me into Uncanny Valley. I don't like it. I've never been to Madame Tussauds, but I feel like we should go.
Yeah. Yeah. I might, so there's one in San Francisco. Actually, I was going to say I might go to the one in San Francisco, but the thing is, the one in San Francisco is like really expensive to get into, so
I
maybe
think
not.
Madame Tussauds is too. But I don't want to do the dungeon. I have no interest in the dungeon. I just want to go look at like
Celebrities.
And look, I took a picture of the wax figures of the Spice Girls. I guess I'm a Spice Girl too. I don't understand it.
Yeah, no, So okay, I'll amend what I said. I have never been to like a wax museum that is just a wax museum, but I've been to like museums where I went to Salem in Massachusetts, and they have like a lot of their displays in their museums are wax figurines.
Yes.
So
That's true. I guess do like dioramas count in museums? Because I've seen a few of those too.
yeah, I don't know.
I don't know.
But they are kind of like, it does feel like they're following you. I don't know why. So it turns out that the owner has basically a lot of original artifacts from various different people. So the keychain was real, the hat was real, and Gandhi's glasses were real. And the jacket that he's wearing is also real. It's Fonz.
But the Fonz isn't dead.
Right. But neither is Paris Hilton.
Oh, that's true. Well, this is also a huge red herring. All of this information has nothing to do with what happens.
No. Not So yeah, I'm going to say that the thing that it is, the creature that it is the owner.
Yeah.
Because then he gets to know who's obsessed with what.
That's true.
And I don't know why he chose the Fonz. But, okay. You would think Dean would be into that, right?
The Fonz. Oh, yeah. Surely he muddles some of his personality on the Fonz.
Surely. But like, maybe Dean doesn't like being confronted by his likes and dislikes in such a weird way. I don't know.
I think that's a very good theory that the creature is this guy. It makes total sense. Yeah, absolutely. They should have just done that.
yeah, like I guess they wanted to keep Paris Hilton on as long as they could, so that's why it's her.
That's true. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, I don't know. So the guy is just like trying to appeal to the newer generation by having like more recent figures come in.
He says Gen Y, and I was like, that's us.
I know. Yeah.
With our computer games, cell phones, and sexting. Yeah.
At least, like, we're not the Snapchat generation, so that's fine.
That's true. Yeah.
I'll take that any day. So they're back at the motel, and Sam is packing up the Impala. I have to say, why was he making those faces? Like, I know he was like concentrating, but like he's kind of frown pouting. I don't know. It was very strange. I didn't quite understand it.
Is maybe, like, again, haven't watched House of Wax in maybe a decade. Is him loading that gun in the trunk some reference? It could be.
Was it a reference to Supernatural in that movie that they then replicated in Supernatural?
Oh, it hurts. Too much meta. I don't like it.
Or just enough. I don't know. So he comes back into the motel room because the door is sort of slightly ajar, and he overhears a conversation that Dean's having with Bobby.
Maybe the apocalypse has got them all hot and bothered. Yeah, well, we all know whose fault that is.
Well, I'm sorry, but it's true.
Sam then closes the door, like slams the door shut, and Dean ends the phone call. And Dean kind of ignores the question of like what's going on. He says he was on the phone with Bobby. Dean goes to leave, and Sam says, "So we're just going to pretend I didn't hear what I just heard." And Dean shrugs and says, "Don't pretend or don't, whatever floats your boat."
This was supposed to be a fresh start, Dean.
Well, this is about as fresh as it gets. Are we going or not?
And they leave.
Yeah.
I don't know how I feel about that. It's just rude.
It was a bit out of character for Dean, I feel. Like, he wasn't... Because he went on this whole trip forward in time and realised how important their relationship is, and he's the one who phoned Sam for them to get back together and, like, go hunting again. So for him now to be so dismissive and, like... He's acting like Sam was the one who, like, wanted, you know, really, like, begged him back to come back in, rather than Dean trying to fix that relationship. I don't know. It's just weird. Like,
Yeah.
It feels like something happened in those 3 weeks from them meeting again.
I don't know. It was definitely very strange. I didn't quite get that. So they're back at the wax museum, and they're collecting all the items and putting them in a trash can. And they're about to... Actually, no. Before we do that, before we get there, Sam gets the trash can and sort of says he's like to put everything in. Dean takes Abraham Lincoln's hat and like puts it on and does the like voice that everybody does for Lincoln.
47 years ago, I had a funny hat.
I have a question for Americans. How do they know that Abraham Lincoln spoke like that? Do they have their recordings of his voice? It's in the 1800s, so no, probably not. It's just like, everyone's decided that he spoke like that. How do they know?
And also, I think it's more like, because he's from a region.
That makes sense.
Like, you would pick up what they sound like from that region, and then like his voice might have not sounded like that. Like, it might not have been that deep. But he would have had the accent of whatever accent it was. I don't remember where he's from.
Well, I don't know. I don't know my American history.
So again, like, he's trying to make light of a situation, right? That he's just kind of caused himself. Because you know that car ride to the wax museum would have been tense, right?
Yeah. And then he's just there like goofing around after that, like, oh yeah, me and Bobby are like dissing you for starting the apocalypse, and no, we're not going to talk about it, and this is not a fresh start. And then it's, I'm wearing a funny hat now, Sam, look at me.
It's so silly.
Yeah.
So he throws it in the trash can, and Dean goes to get the keychain, and This is the scene where I'm like, this has to be from House of Wax, surely, because he gets right up into Abe's face and it's like looking into his eyes. Like, I feel like this is what everybody would do though, like just to make sure that there's nobody inside.
I don't know. I feel like I'd be like poking with a stick, like, you know, from a distance, so they couldn't like grab you or like bite your nose.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true. And as he's staring at the figurine, the doors that Dean went through slam shut, and Sam turns around and yells, "Dean!" His gun is then like flung across the room, and then Gandhi attacks.
Good.
And they have a fight. And Dean's like, "Is that Gandhi?" And Sam's like, "Yeah, he's squirrely."
Like,
sure.
basically riding Sam like a bucking bronco kind of situation going on.
I don't know why Dean doesn't know to get the glasses, because he also heard that the fact that the glasses were real.
It's just not thinking. His brain's not connected. I don't know what's going on with Dean in this episode.
Yeah, he's had one too many bears.
Also, you know I was going to say this. He set someone on fire. How?
Magic? I don't know.
I've got to the point where I think the salting and burning thing is more of a purification thing than it is actually having to destroy the object, because otherwise my brain hurts.
Well, so in It's a Terrible Life, they just set the gloves on fire. It's literally just to destroy the like remnants, right?
The residue.
Yeah.
Yeah, makes sense.
Because for that, they didn't have time to salt and burn it either. They just burned it.
That's true.
And it worked.
Yeah.
And then Gandhi disappears. Not in its usual form. It just sort of poof. Dean's surprised that Sam's a fan of Gandhi. It's just like... It's... I don't know. Why you came to that conclusion... Who knows?
Well, no, it does make sense because he was attacked by Gandhi, and it seems like they can only be attacked by the things they're fans of. I'm saying that really slowly because it's only because of something Paris Hilton says later on.
Yeah. But, like, okay. But you can be a fan of, like, I guess Dean thinks that Sam is a super fan of Gandhi. Right? I think that's what's the implication, rather than like Sam kind of knowing a little bit about. I mean, he seems to know a lot about Gandhi, but I wouldn't consider him a super fan.
No.
I don't know.
Yeah.
This episode.
It's just best not to think about it too much, I think, this one.
Yeah, definitely.
So they go back to the motel. And they think they've won because Dean's like ready to blow this joint, and they're like, you know, Sam's getting ready to go.
Dean, didn't it strike you as strange the way Gandhi just vanished?
And Dean's like, but I did it, he vanished. Like, job done.
Yeah, let's go.
And Sam also said, I feel like he was trying to take a bite out of me. And he's like, it's like he was hungry, but the thing is, Gandhi, or the real Gandhi, was a fruitarian. Okay. Dean's like laughing at him as like, you know, your ultimate hero wasn't only a short man in diapers, but also a fruitarian. I was like, that's not the point. And Dean's still like taking the mick out of him. And, you know, says, you know, Dean's like, it was a ghost. It was a ghost. A ghost is a ghost is a ghost. Like, we did it. And then they have this kind of argument about it. Because Sam says, you dragged me into town, now you're dragging me back out. And Dean says, you ain't steering this boat, let's go. Chop, chop.
You know, this isn't gonna work.
What isn't?
Us. You, me, together. I thought it could, but it can't.
You're the one that wanted back in, Chief.
That isn't technically true. Like, yes, Sam did want back in, but Dean, like, invited him back, right?
So, actually, so at the beginning of that episode, Sam did call Dean to say that he's Lucifer's vessel and they need to get together.
Yeah.
So the kind of is that Sam wanted back in, but he wanted back in to hunt down Lucifer.
I just feel like Dean's skewing it because originally, like, you know, Sam went back in, he was like, no, and then he went on that trip and then he was like, no, we have to be together. So I feel like, where is any part of that in this episode? Because it just seems like Dean's really like, well, I guess I'll take him along. It's not like the fate of the world depends on it or anything.
Maybe he's like, we need to be together, but I don't need to be nice to them.
I mean, maybe, yeah. I mean, to be fair, though, I just said all of that, but Sam does just say, you're the one who called me back in. So, all right, fine. Sam's also making my point. I'm on Sam's side here. And Dean says, like, I think we've still got some trust building to do. And Sam says, well, how long am I going to be on double secret probation? And then says, like, look, I know what I did, like what I've done. I'm trying to climb out of that hole. You're not making it any easier. And Dean's like, you know, am I supposed to let you off the hook?
You'll never punish me as much as I'm punishing myself. But the point is, if we're going to be a team, you and I, it has to be a two-way street.
So we just go back to the way we were before?
Which it never was a two-way street, but Dean thinks that it was.
Yes. Yeah. That's interesting.
Because Sam's like, no, we were never that way before. It didn't work. Because Dean's always been in charge. They've always done what Dean wants to do. Occasionally he acquiesces to Sam's requests, but Dean's in charge. Like, he's the older brother.
Exactly.
But Sam wants equality. So, because he says, like, Dean, one of the reasons I went off with Ruby was to get away from you.
Was it though? Like, I don't recall that ever being that much of an issue until literally when Dean gets back from hell. Sam is already with Ruby.
Yeah.
And then they meet up in secret, like, for the whole season until they don't.
Yeah.
Like, I don't really remember. Like, I guess Dean was pretty overbearing with the angels and everything, and like, yeah, okay, yeah. Through Dean's actions rather than his words, I can see why Sam would get away from him. Okay, yeah. Never mind. Yeah.
Yeah, because Sam's saying, like, it made him not feel like a kid brother, like, you know, he was off on his own doing things. And Dean's like, so you're saying this is my fault? Because, of course, everything is Dean's fault in Dean's mind. And Sam says, no, it's my fault. All I'm saying is that if we're going to do this, we have to do it different. We can't just fall into the same rut. You know, you're going to have to let me grow up, for starters. And then a phone rings.
Yep. Of course it does. We haven't mentioned this in a while. Their ages at this point.
Yes.
So so Sam's 27 roughly at this point, and Dean would be in his 30s. 31?
Yes. 31, 32, yeah.
So it kind of does make sense that you would get to a point when you're sort of in your late 20s that like you really shouldn't feel like the kid sibling anymore.
Yeah, that's true. Because the older you get, the less difference your age difference makes.
Right.
So yeah, and especially as like Sam's starting to approach 30, he's like, why are you still treating me like I'm some kid, you know?
Yeah.
Who can't wash his own hair or something.
You're gonna make sure I wipe my ass and wash my hands.
Exactly. Yeah. It's so true. Yeah, and it does make sense. Like, this is Sam striking out on his own, and the problem is that when Sam did strike out on his own, he caused the apocalypse. Yeah. So he's kind of having to come back with his tail between his legs to them being together and being like, I am actually capable of being by myself and not starting the apocalypse, but I realise I have to earn that trust.
I mean, and he did pretty well, like, on his own for a little bit. And again, we don't know how long.
Yeah.
He did all right. Like, he got himself a job, got himself a little place to stay, and all that. I mean, if anything, like, Sam actually knows how to look after himself. Like, he's the health nut, and like eats the better food and all that kind of stuff. It's just like, it's pretty well.
Guess you were right about this not being over.
So we cut to the sheriff's department, and he's just the sheriff's like given up.
Yeah, he's not even in his office anymore. He's just at some desk.
He's just like, I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's going on. And there are two girls crying in their office. And they're saying like, it was horrible, way horrible. So no teenagers ever spoke like this in 2006, just saying. Did you ever say way,
no,
way horrible?
This is how the industry thought that teenagers spoke.
Yes, that's true. That's very true. So it turns out their girlfriend, I don't know why I said like that, their friend, Danielle, has been stolen by Paris Hilton. And the best part of this is like Sam and Dean look at each other and the girl's like, she looked really good though.
I don't like the fact that they called they say she looked really good though, and it's like skinny and fast.
Yeah.
It's just like, is that really how we used to talk about people?
No.
And it really was, but it really was.
The media, yes, definitely.
Yeah.
Right. That being said, like, if you're ever worried about your body, just remember that in like the early 2000s, having like a flat ass was the pinnacle, and now look at everybody.
Right. And apparently that's coming back. So says, the media.
You know what? They can suck it. I'm keeping my high-waisted jeans.
Right? No, we're not doing the ultra low waist where you can basically see dick root.
Oh my god.
I'm not doing it.
So the girls say they just vanished, and Dean walks out and they have a brother aside, and Dean says like, Paris Hilton's not dead as far as we know.
So sorry, they're in the doorway of the interview room. They literally walk like 6 inches
Yeah.
and they have this conversation. Like, they can still hear you.
It's fun. Yeah. So obviously it means that it's not a ghost if she's not dead. So either Paris Hilton is a homicidal maniac or they missed something. So then we cut to the morgue and Sam is cutting up a body, doing an autopsy that almost definitely should have been done. Right?
Yeah. Yeah, because he's a murder victim, so
Yeah.
that should have already been done.
So he goes and he like puts his hand in this body. Sam always does this, right? It's a Sam thing.
Yeah, he always does this, but he wasn't sure what he was looking for before he did this. So he would literally just like cut up in a little hole and just like stuck his hand in and just hoping. Yeah. Like making dead man soup. Like,
oh. There was no reason, because he got these from the stomach, right? Why would that? And that was the first place he looked, supposedly.
yeah, exactly. I don't know. Again, another thing of this episode that made no sense, that he just knew where to go and just put his hand into this person's cavity and just was like, oh, these feel weird. Like, it couldn't have been anything else. It just had to be anyway.
Well, we also supposed to guess that they were seeds. Like, he takes out these things and they're like seeds. But like,
I thought they were like kidney stones. Like,
they look like round little iron balls or something. I don't know what they were. Yeah. Anyway, she takes these things out to show Dean. Dean says, are those seeds? I'm like, how did you get seeds from that anyway? And Sam says, yeah, they were in their bellies. And Dean says, I hope you washed your hands. and Sam's like, they're unlike any seed I've seen before. I have issue with this because it's so bad. I do love gardening. And seeds come in many shapes and sizes. I don't feel like you could realistically say, these are unusual seeds.
I guess if you think about his thought process maybe a little bit of like, this guy might have eaten it, so it's not a seed that he would have seen to have been eaten.
Like a sunflower seed. Yeah. I got you.
But like even still, that doesn't really make any sense. But yeah.
No, we'll go with it. We'll go with it. And things like when I thought you couldn't get any geekier. I like the idea that he thinks Sam is just like studying books of seeds, like committing them to memory. Or is it just that he eats seeds, so he's a geek?
So the reason why I pause is because I'm thinking back to the Crossroad Blues.
Yes.
And Dean is the one to point out what the flowers are.
Yeah. Inconsistent, like, character development sometimes, I swear to you, I swear.
Anyway, yeah.
Yeah. So they're back in the hotel room and Sam's Googling seeds. It says Yahtzee. He figures that the seeds aren't from around here. They're from Eastern Europe, from a forest in the Balkans that isn't even there anymore. To be fair, he is looking on the seed bank website, so it can... Well, yes, fine. Yeah. I'll go with it.
But these seeds don't look like seeds. They look like pieces of coal.
Yeah. I mean, maybe that's why it was easier to find their unusual seeds.
Yeah, maybe.
Go with it. It's fine. This is the least of our problems.
Trying to make sense of this episode is not working out for anybody.
No. So it was a local legend that forest was guarded by a pagan god whose name was Leshy. Mischievous god, could take on infinite forms. And Dean's like, let me guess, he liked to munch on his fans. And so this god could only be appeased with the blood of his worshippers, would drain them, stuff their stomachs with seeds. And so they, how's he doing it? Is he morphing into James Dean by touching his keychain? And Sam says, well, that's as good a guess as any. And they figure out how we're going to kill them, and it turns out they have to chop off his head with an iron axe. Then Dean says, all right, let's go gank ourselves a Paris Hilton.
So it's funny that they can go after pagan gods without like a care. But then as soon as it comes to like Lucifer, they're like, oh no. But it kind of is explained a little bit in this episode. And it's basically the Neil Gaiman viewpoint on gods of like, they don't have worshippers anymore, so they're weak.
Yeah.
We saw that with the Christmas episode as well.
Mm-hmm.
That, they had to resort to the luring of people in to basically feed. So I think if you go by that right now, like right now, like the Christian mythos, let's put it that way, is like the leading religion. So it would make sense that angels and God would be actually super powerful and supernatural because a lot of people believe in them and worship them at this point.
Yeah, that's always the view that I've taken on this as well, because of Eric Kripke saying that Neil Gaiman was an influence for this, and the treatment of pagan gods and supernatural is quite similar, I feel, to... It's like... This sounds so bad. It's like a bad copy of American Gods. Like, they tried to do the same thing, but it didn't really work. And there's other ones coming up too. There's like an Egyptian god that they come across. Right. And then there's that one where they're all in the hotel together, which is feels very much like that. I thought this as soon as I watched this one, I was like, oh yeah, this feels like Neil Gaiman lore.
yeah, definitely.
So they go back to the wax museum and they walk past the Abraham Lincoln wax model and they kind of split up. Eventually Sam finds a door that says that it's closed for renovations and danger, do not enter. So he does like a whistle and he meets up with him. So they go through and they find themselves like in a room that's decorated like the woods. This also does lead into your theory that the guy running the wax museum was the god because he's recreating the woods, right?
Yeah, that's true. That's very true.
Yeah. There's also like a White House porch there as well. They find Danielle and she's kind of knocked out but tied to a tree. And then the axe like flies out of Dean's hand, just like whoosh. This happened to Sam earlier when he was about to fight with Gandhi, that his gun got like whooshed out of his hand. It kind of like hits a tree and like sticks in it. And he turns around and it's Paris Hilton. She immediately punches Dean in the face. And then, like, it's great, actually. She did a really good job. This kind of, like, flipping her hair, like, hands on her hip. Like, she's playing her character really well of Paris Hilton while she beats them up. And then eventually, like, Dean's on the ground and she stood over him and she just says, awesome, before she, like, smashes her stiletto onto Dean's face. Which should have left a mark, god damn it.
That is very true. Yeah.
They were Louboutins. They had a red soul.
I love the way that Sam and Dean are tied to the tree. Like, because they are clearly conscious because they're stood on their feet. They are stood rigid on their feet. And their heads are just tilted. Like, they're not slumped or anything. Like, I just love it. I love it so much because it's so dumb.
Yeah.
I think that's my review for this episode. I love it because it's so dumb.
Yeah.
Dean's the first one to wake up. She says, I've been stuffing myself with fast food, so it's nice to do the ritual right. And she's there like with some sort of iron tool that's rusted, and she's like sharpening her nails and it's like sparking.
Yeah, it's cool.
It's kind of cool.
Yeah.
And she says, you have no idea. People adored me. They used to throw themselves at me with smiles on their faces. Dean says, I guess these days nobody gives a flying crap about some backwoods forest god. So the Slashy has been wandering, sort of searching for somewhere, scrounging for scraps. And then the best thing ever happened. Someone tripped the apocalypse. So they don't know who, like, it doesn't know who.
So I found this little place. It's awesome. Adoring fans stroll right in the door.
So yeah, she is the owner.
Blatantly is the owner, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't really make that clear. I guess it's more fun to kill Paris. Sorry, this sounds really bad out of context. So I guess it's more of a draw to kill Paris Hilton than it is to kill the museum owner.
Yes, almost definitely. I think, yeah.
Sam says, but they're not your fans. And she's like, it doesn't matter. They worship Lincoln, Gandhi, Hilton, whatever. I can get what I'll take what I can get. Dean says, you're not the first god that we've met, but you are the nuttiest. It's like, actually, I feel like the Christmas gods were probably the worst.
Yeah. At least this god seems like she's just gonna like stab them and eat them, not torture them before eating them like the pagan gods of Christmas.
Yeah, or like the scarecrow.
Yeah.
Like, so again, this is all really self-aware, and it's really weird coming from Paris Hilton.
Yeah,
because she was like the kickoff of this generation of like famous for being famous.
I was literally talking to my husband about this because I was saying like, Paris Hilton's in this episode, and we were trying to remember like why she was famous. And I was like, I think you said it last time. Like, she's basically just Kim Kardashian before Kim Kardashian.
Yeah, she was famous for being famous and having money and having a sex tape.
This is what passes for idolatry? Celebrities? What have they got besides small dogs and spray tans?
So wild that she's just saying all of this.
The thing is, I think this is one thing I have to say for Paris Hilton, because like I never really was aware of her at the time. I always felt that she was self-aware of what she was doing. But,
yeah.
Like always, like kind of just knew exactly what she was doing. I think she seems to be quite like a smart person.
I agree. Now, like back then,
yeah,
I wouldn't have guessed that she was putting on an act.
Yeah. But here they're basically trying to make a commentary like, you've replaced all your gods with celebrities. It's not very deep.
No, not, yeah. Dean makes the reference of like, I've never seen the House of Wax, and it pans to Sam.
It's like a super
like
long,
looking offended.
Yeah. It's quite good.
What do you mean? And so the Lashley's like, but I can totally read your mind, Dean. You know who your hero is? Your daddy. Which I don't think it is anymore, but okay.
No, he doesn't look happy about that. Like, he was all like joking and like, ha ha ha, you're Paris Hilton. As soon as she said that it was like face drop.
Yeah. She walks over to the axe and pulls it out of the tree. But as she goes to attack him, she's talking about the axe, saying, "This used to belong to him, didn't it? Poor little Dean. All you've ever wanted is to be loved by your idol." One distant father figure coming right up. And
So their theory that the Leshy has to touch something to turn into someone is correct then, because she would have to touch something of John's to turn into him. So I wonder what it was of Paris Hilton's that they had. I'm going to say it was the shoes because they were Louboutins.
I agree.
Why would you put expensive shoes on a wax model? There we go.
Yep.
Amy
like
solves the mystery.
Dean had managed to get out of his bonds and attack the Leshy. They have a big fight. She gets the upper hand and but also manages to fling the axe away. Dean manages to push the Leshy away. Sam chops its head off and blood splats just on one half of his face. Okay.
Not a word.
Dude, you just got wailed on by Paris Hilton.
I feel like this is a little bit of a dig for the treating me like a kid and I did the killing on this one.
Sam needed this kill. You're totally right.
And they just kind of leave. I mean, obviously it's apparent that they get Danielle to where they needed to get her, but what?
Let's just leave a headless body that looks like Paris Hilton in that, because they show her rolling head. It doesn't look like she turned back into the monster or anything.
No.
They've just left the body there. Right. This is what's gone down in this town. we just talk about this poor sheriff. First of all, he's arrested this guy who definitely wasn't involved in that guy's murder / accidental death in his car. Then a guy got shot with their gunpowder. And then a girl goes missing and her friends say that it was Paris Hilton that abducted her. So then now they're going to find in the wax museum a headless Paris Hilton, but the girl was randomly recovered. And you know that she's just going to turn up. The FBI agents, Sam and Dean, aren't going to drop her off somewhere.
Yeah. And the FBI agents have just left town.
Right. So as far as they know, Paris Hilton kidnapped this girl, then got murdered. Until she turns up somewhere, in Us Weekly. Anyway.
Yep, that was this week's episode. Just a wild ride.
So they go to the Impala and they say that, Danielle's going to be all right. She's sworn off the simple life, but other than that. And Dean does say that the sheriff put an APB on Paris Hilton, so that's fun. They put the bags in the car and then they have a brother talk about what happened. And Dean says, "I was thinking about what you said yesterday about me keeping too tight of a leash on you." He's like, "Maybe you're right. I'm not exactly Mr. Innocent in this whole mess either. I did break the first seal." A good acknowledgement there, And Sam's like, "You didn't know." And Dean says, "Well, neither did you." They've both been pawns in this. I do still feel Dean should be more. They both got played,
Yeah. Yep.
So Dean says, "I'm not saying demon blood is a great way to go, but you did kill Lilith."
And start the apocalypse.
Which neither of us saw coming. I mean, who'd have thought killing Lilith would have been a bad thing?
It's true.
Right.
It was our whole goal for that season. Dean says, "Point is, I was so worried about watching your every move, I didn't see what it was actually doing to you. And I'm sorry." And asks, "Where do we go from here?" And Sam says, "We've only got one shot of surviving this. Maybe I'm on deck for the devil, and the same with you and Michael, and there's no changing that."
But we can stop wringing our hands over it. We gotta just grab onto whatever's in front of us, kick its ass, and go down fighting.
He's basically the same little speech that Dean had given in the first episode. He's basically saying it back and actually meaning it.
He's getting that equality. He's doing the Dean. He's being the Dean to the Dean. Because Dean is like, "I can get on board with that." And it's like, "Yeah, you did because you said it." They go to leave, and as they get ready to get in the car, Dean looks at his keys and says, "Hey, And then he hands the keys to Sam. He's like, "You want to drive?" And Sam's like, "You know, are you sure? Me? And yeah, so they get in. They kind of switch sides. So Sam goes to the driver's seat for once. It's very symbolic.
It is.
You know, they're gaining their equality. And as they drive off, Superstition starts to play. Superstition. Yeah.
I only know the Stevie Wonder version of the song, so I thought it was Stevie Wonder.
Me too. I thought it was as well. So yeah, I'm with you on that. Yeah. There was a bit at the end of this episode which I watched afterwards, just briefly mention, because that music continues on and then it goes soon. So I wonder if there was like a break between this episode and the next episode.
It could very well be. Let me have a look. Nope.
Oh, okay. So like no reason for that then.
It was to fill time because this episode was shorter than usual.
Oh.
This episode was 38 minutes at this point, where usually episodes are about 40. 40 to 42 of actual like episode time.
There was nothing of substance. Like,
no.
Really. Apart from way too much emphasis on the Omen kid. You know, like the Antichrist that we all know goes nowhere. So I was like, why are you focusing on this?
I didn't watch it because I was just like, as soon as this changing channel stuff came up, I was like, oh, okay, yeah, this is, I don't want to know what comes. So let's just see what happens.
Yeah.
So I was just like, oh, all right, fair.
Yeah. And I'm like kind of annoyed I watched it now because now I get to be like prematurely mad about the Antichrist storyline. It's like kind of forgotten and now I've remembered. I'm like, it really never went anywhere. I can't believe this.
Well, we get to live through that together. So
yeah.
Yay.
It's coming up, guys, soon.
I actually forgot that Changing Channels was in this season. So I'm excited for that one. But yeah, so this episode was filler.
It was dumb.
It was very dumb. And that was kind of it. Like, it's not really much to add. Like, even the conversation that's had in this, like, it won't go anywhere. Not really.
No. Like, it's just carrying on from the last episode and will be continued in the next episode. Like, just rehashed. So, yeah.
There you go.
Cool.
There's not really much else to say. You're welcome for this, like, really in-depth look at this episode.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry if I listened to, like, whatever hour long this is for us to go, yeah, this was an episode of Supernatural.
Dear. So next week's episode is I Believe the Children Are Our Future.
This must be the Antichrist episode, right?
Yeah.
Okay, maybe I didn't get like super mad about it super early. We'll see.
Yeah. Well, Cass is back, so I'm happy about that. That's about it.
Yeah. This is gonna be an interesting one, actually. Yeah. No, I'm looking forward to it. It might be long because I'm gonna be well mad about it for the whole time. The whole time.
I'm so excited. I'm so excited.
If you made it this far, we love you.
So at the end of the episode, we'd like to thank the Pixel Agora for his amazing logo art. And if you'd like to get it on a bag, a coaster, probably, stickers, what have you, it's available on our Redbubble store. Also, come tell us about how dumb and stupid this episode was on social media. And please do not worship us. We do not want Aleshi looking like us and trying to kill people. That's not where we're at in our lives. So you can search for us on Tumblr, Facebook, Instagram, all of those places, YouTube. searching the Escaping Purgatory podcast or Escaping Podcast on Twitter.
Yeah. So this week we hung out with Paris Hilton and didn't watch House of Wax. So next week, hopefully, we can find our way out. Bye.
Bye.